So we want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it. We've never asked for anything else, and we could have kept that piece of land, and we didn't. So they have a choice. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember.
I don't know, that sounds like a laced threat to me. The good news is that everyone's at Davos, the mood is good. Trump got his piece of ice, or he got a section of his piece of ice. And the big thing is that the markets are now responding. In fact, this is what's happening on the markets. But is this response worth anything, and does it change the whole picture? I don't think so, but let's talk about it today because there's a lot of data points that we actually need to look at. Everyone's at Davos, everyone's rubbing shoulders with everyone else, the mood is good, the feeling is good, the markets are green, but the big question is, does this change the big picture? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Big show. Let's go, guys. You know, every year I say, next year I'm going to go to Davos, next year I'm going to go to Davos, and I never land up going to Davos because it's in the middle of our summer. And, you know, the one thing I love is being here in summer, and then to go there where it's so cold, to rub shoulders with people and to have meetings with people. I guess next year, remind me before Davos that I said I'm going to actually go to Davos. Guys, a lot is coming out of Davos. Stuff about the Clarity Act, stuff about Greenland, stuff about the tariffs, everything here impacting markets. Markets are recovering, but this is playing exactly like we said it would, right? Exactly as per the tariff playbook. We are now getting that relief rally. And the question is, does that relief rally actually change anything? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So it's going to be a big show. What I need you to do, as usual, smash the like button. Please help me get distribution. I'll be here every single day, bringing you crypto love, crypto wisdom, and these amazing updates. All I need is for you guys to smash the like button. Anyway, so let's talk about what is happening at Davos. So everyone's at Davos, the mood is good, and as you can see today, all the European markets are up, and that is because Trump got his Greenland, or he got a piece of Greenland. He dropped the tariffs against the European Union. The mood's good, everyone's rubbing shoulders, they're all making announcements, and they're saying how amazing things are going to be, and the markets are responding. We've got beautiful green candles. We've got Canton up 14%, back up at almost 15. You've got all these other ones actually going up. You've got Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has recovered. I mean, if you look at where we were from the bottom, we were at 87,185, and now we're at 89,000, or just under 90,000, 89,900. And the truth is, though, that even though the markets went up, and even though the S&P went up, and you can see that the S&P futures are now up another 0.5% over here, this pump changes absolutely nothing. We're not back into this ascending triangle, or you can't get back into the ascending triangle. We're still in this bear flag formation. I still can't be bullish until we break up above this $98,000 level. And this is the part that's the most worrying, right? We could get a relief bounce, and maybe it'll take us to 90, maybe it'll take us to 92, maybe it'll even take us up to 94. But until we put in that higher high, which is at around 98 or 99,000, you cannot be bullish again. And so from a bullishness point of view, nothing changes. We're in exactly the same situation. Well, maybe not. Maybe we cleared one CME gap from earlier this year or earlier this week. But that's it. Nothing else happens. The one thing that is worth noticing, though, is that yesterday when Trump made the announcement that he's dropping the tariffs against the EU after they reached some kind of deal on Greenland, what you can see is that gold and silver started to collapse. Not collapse. Gold went down 1.7% and silver went down 2.9%. And at the same time, risk markets went up and Bitcoin went up. So the Nasdaq went up, the S&P went up, gold went down, silver went down, and Bitcoin went up 3.6% after that announcement. Now, why am I saying that is because what's clear is that the market is not treating Bitcoin like a store of value, safe haven asset. In fact, the exact opposite. The market is treating Bitcoin like a risk on asset, right? Like a tech stock. And this is what I want to talk to you about because I think I've uncovered something, right? Because even though the market, the Nasdaq has been running like crazy, what you can see is that last year, if you take the whole of last year, let's say from 31st December 2024 till where we are today, the Nasdaq's up 22.78%, right? And the thing is that if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is actually flat. So if you take Nasdaq and then we can go to say Bitcoin over here, what you can see is Bitcoin is flat on that same time period. Basically, where Bitcoin started in the beginning of January 2025 and where Bitcoin is today is exactly the same level. So a pretty disappointing year for Bitcoin when you compare it to NASDAQ. But then hold on a second. If you dig just a little bit deeper and look at like stocks like, for example, Meta, right? And you say, okay, well, where was Meta? Where was Facebook on the 1st of January 2025? So let's just try and find that level. It is a level that is somewhere here. So let's just say that that's close enough. And then where's Meta today? It actually hasn't moved. Not at all. So in fact, it's got exactly the same price point as Bitcoin. Hasn't moved. And it's not only Meta, right? If you look at things like Tesla, right? So that's where Tesla started the year, and that's where Tesla is now. Basically, hardly any price movement, and if anything, actually a minus 7% price movement. And so what we're realizing is that the market is actually pricing Bitcoin like a tech stock. And if you look at the performance of tech stocks, other than things like Nvidia, other than things like Google, which we'll talk about in a second, I'm going to break down the whole thesis for you in a sec. What you're realizing is that actually Bitcoin performed exactly like a tech stock. And when you look at it on a chart that looks something like this, you kind of say to yourself, hold on a second. This chart is actually pasting a very clear picture. It's painting a very clear picture. When the risk assets, when the market goes risk on, when the market goes full risk on, and real stocks or all stocks basically start running, then Bitcoin is basically going to go up. But any investor, whether it was a crypto investor or whether it was a stocks investor, unless you were invested in exactly the right stock, and it wasn't even the Mag 7, right? Because not all the Mag 7 actually went up. Then you basically had the same results as Bitcoin, unless you were invested in exactly the right sectors. And that's what we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, right? For now, let's quickly look at what happened yesterday when it came to Davos. So as I said, everyone is in Davos. They're all there. The mood's good. They're all there. Trump went out and made his speech. Now, it's about an hour and a half, and literally you can clip every 5 minutes in the speech. It's so good. But these are some of the highlights, basically.
And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps. After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that? But we did it. But we gave it back. But how ungrateful are they now? So now our country and the world face much greater risks than it did ever before because of missiles, because of nuclear, because of weapons of warfare that I can't even talk about. 2 weeks ago, they saw weapons that nobody ever heard of.
So Trump went on about Greenland. He wanted Greenland. He wanted his little piece of ice. And he also had a very productive meeting with the Secretary General of NATO, who actually formed a framework for Trump to actually get Greenland. So they do finally have a framework. So he wanted to get Greenland. He got what he wanted. He got his little piece of ice that he actually did. Now, what's the deal? The deal involves giving small pockets of land to the US. The US involved in all the military rights. So they've got the land for the protection. They've got the mineral rights for the rare earth minerals. The deal duration has an indefinite time frame, designed to block Russian influence in Greenland. And by the way, Putin came out afterwards and says, you guys are wasting time. Like, we don't want this. The US Golden Dome will be involved, which the Golden Dome is the missile interception systems. And opens the door to US-backed infrastructure investment, right? So he got his land, he got his defense, and he got his minerals, and that's exactly what he wanted. And that's why he said, okay, well, he's going to remove the tariffs on the European countries. Typical Trump playbook, right? The playbook for Trump is threaten, show the other side exactly how bad you're going to mess them up, and then reverse and say, you know, we've been working to it. We'll go back to that. The other thing that he spoke about yesterday was the stock markets, and he basically reassured investors that the stock market's going to double. Listen to this.
I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we have an unbelievable future in that stock. That stock market is going to be doubled. We're going to hit 50,000, and that stock market's going to double.
Now, one thing I've learned about Trump is whenever he says something, he delivers it, right? Like, you know, Trump said he's going to deliver markets that are running, markets are running. Trump said he's going to deliver the crypto stuff, he's delivered the crypto stuff. So when I got into investments, people said to me, never bet against the Fed. And I think what they meant is never bet against what the president's telling you, because this is exactly what's going to happen, right? There were some other highlights, which I think are very, very, very cool. So this is Scott Bessent describing Gavin Newsom.
I think it's
this is classic. Let me know in the chat what you think about this.
very, very ironic that Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros, and the Davos is a perfect place for a man who, when everyone else was on lockdown, when he was having people arrested for going to church, he was having $1,000 a night meals at the French Laundry, and I'm sure the California people won't forget that. And
I mean, so there were politicians actually digging at one another. Trump also moved on to crypto and kind of assured the market that he's going to get the Clarity Act actually passed.
To unleash innovation in savings and financing, I'm also working to ensure America remains the crypto capital of the world. And to that end, last year I signed the landmark Genius Act into law. Now Congress is working very hard on crypto market structure legislation, Bitcoin, all of them, which I hope.
So he's assured people that basically this is going to be the next thing that's actually happened. Now, there has been some progress made on the Clarity Act. So the main thing is that the major thing around the controversial stable yield restrictions were removed. So they didn't deal with it. They just removed it and said, we're not going to deal with it. And it'll be dealt with somewhere else. Now, this is a major positive, because this was the biggest sticking point. And by removing it, pretty much I think this is going to happen next week. Now, the problem is that the politicians, etc., they've moved on to different bills at the moment, and they'll have to come back. They'll have to come back into this and get it done. Hopefully, they can get it done sometime in February, if there isn't a government shutdown. So very, very, very important that we understand that there could be a government shutdown at the end of Jan, guys. There could be a government shutdown again. Hopefully, it doesn't happen though. All right, so this whole tariff trade played out exactly per what we told you when this thing happened, right? And now, basically, it's following this 𝗙𝗏𝗍𝗍 playbook. The playbook is that, first Trump goes nuclear, and then he imposes the tariffs, and then he doubles down on the tariffs. And then over the weekend, they start to speak about the willingness to negotiate, etc., etc. Then the futures open red, and they open red. Then on Monday and Tuesday, they carry on applying pressure. And by Wednesday that week, the dip buyers came in. So yesterday was Wednesday, the dip buyers came in. Now, what happens here is that typically this rally fails, right? And the rally only picks up on the following weekend, which means that theoretically, if this were to hold, then Monday should be a really good week for markets, and we should actually get some kind of relief rally. Then over the next 2 to 4 weeks, various members of the Trump administration continue to tease progress, and they'll eventually get an agreement. So with all this in mind, next week will probably be quite a good week for crypto, or quite a good week for markets. The question is whether or not it's going to be a good week for crypto, and whether or not we can get up to like crazy levels. Again, we got to deal with what's being given to us by the market. And the truth is, if the market gives us 98, then I turn bullish again. But if not, then I think every pump here is a chance to sell bad tokens that you're currently holding and stuff like that. The playbook is exactly the same every single time. 10% drop on the tariffs to Canada, back all the way up. Again, EU, 50% tariffs, 5% drop, bang, straight back up. It's exactly the same playbook. Expect the same outcome over here. So maybe we do go back up. Question is, do we go up above the 98,000 to give us a healthy chart structure? That's what we're going to keep you covered on. And then the question is, what happens regarding Bitcoin? Like, does it move like a stock? So one of the existential threats to Bitcoin is that quantum computing threat, which has now hit the markets to scare the markets. Again, I wouldn't be too scared about it, and I have made a video which the guys are editing, and they will drop on Crypto Insider. So as soon as that's ready, we're gonna drop it for you guys. In the meantime, the question is how Bitcoin will move, and whether it will move like a tech stock or like something else. And that brings us to what we spoke about earlier in the show, where I said to you guys, yes, there are certain stocks that did really, really, really well last year, right? So if you look at the 12-month performance on things like Google was up 70% in 12 months. By the way, Bill Ackman absolutely nailed that trade. Insane how well he's done. NVIDIA up 35%. Tesla on the 12-month period up 13%. But if you look at this period over here, and you look at the 17th December, you're 11% down here. Microsoft is 1% down. Amazon is 4% down. Meta is 16% down. So I think what it comes down to is to say that there are very few stocks that have basically carried the returns of the entire market. Now, why am I telling you this? Is because when this happens in a cycle, generally at the end of the cycle, everything starts to rise. So in the beginning of the cycle, select stocks take up the index, and at the end of the cycle, it's like everything starts to rise, and everything starts to rise, and then that's usually when we get the blow off top, right? And so if this is it does feel like it's a mega cycle, then what we should look at is we should look to see when the other stocks start moving. Now, if Bitcoin starts to track the other assets, then we could get some kind of pump. But for now, what we've got to do is we've got to play what's given to us. And what's given to us is a chart breakdown. And we got to be cautious. Yes, okay, if Bitcoin goes up, great. But for now, let's remain cautious and trade what is actually given to us every time that it is actually given to us. Okay, I see a message here from Johnny. He says, we've made a video on how to claim a 𝗏𝗏𝗧 offer. Okay, you guys want a 𝗏𝗏𝗧 offer? I'll give you a 𝗏𝗏𝗧 offer. If you open a 𝗏𝗏𝗧 account, you get $1,000 position today, basically. And there's a whole video in the bottom, in the description, there's a video to show you how to actually claim that user bonus. Literally like a step-by-step video. Here's the video. You can actually kind of see it over here. Literally gives you a step-by-step video. Shows you from the time that you take the click, how to open the account, how to claim the bonus, etc., etc. So open an account and get that $1,000 open position. All right, I think that's it for today. I mean, let's just hope that the market gives us something better to go with. Otherwise, I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.